I am excited to get you started, and we are starting with the most important thing, I think, in this course. If there's one thing that you're going to take away from this course, I hope, is making a decision to focus on a niche. This is so crucial because a lot of people have heard about this concept, but most people did not take action on this. So let's get started clarifying what is actually a niche. So basically, a niche means that it's part of the market, so it's just a small segment of the industry, and you recognize that it has its specific needs, which are different from the larger market in some way. So instead of saying something like, I'm a designer that helps businesses, and business is such a huge market, right? It means every business in the world, you're focusing on some segment of it. Now, that segment can be big, such as real estate or startup companies. That's kind of a big niche, but inside of that, you can even niche further and say, I'm only focusing on educational tech companies, or I'm only focusing on commercial real estate agencies that has, between 10 to 20 employees. Now, by understanding your focus, by making a decision to focus not on the whole market, but on a niche, that gives you leverage because you understand, you learn their specific needs, and you can serve them much better, and you can also focus your marketing much better. So here are the reasons why I think niching down is so crucial. The first thing is, if you try to serve everybody, you're ending up being average for everyone. Because going back to the definition of a niche, you understand that different niches have different needs. Not everybody needs what you're going to serve, right? Even if you are serving something like a branding or a website, then different industries need different things, right? Again, if you're working, for example, with a tech company, then when they have specific needs when it comes back to what kind of a website do they need, what kind of a visualization they need, what kind of a hosting do they need, what kind of a process they need when they're working with you, versus when you're working with a real estate or a restaurant. Maybe they need a different platform, they need different solutions, they need different processes when they're building a website. So the same tools might not even be the same, relevant in different niches. And if you're trying to be very broad and serve everybody, then you're just going to be basically average. Okay, now this is key. The second one is the key. It's marketing. If you will go, and I will show you examples later in the course, if you will go to websites of probably 98% of the design agencies or marketing agencies around the world, you will basically see something like, we're a creative agency that helps businesses. And this is so vague that if I'm a business, if I'm a tech company, or if I'm an automotive agent or something like that, if I go there, I do not understand that they're trying to talk to me because they are so broad. They're not talking specifically about my needs and my pain points. And when you're starting to focus on a niche, you can research them, you can understand how to talk directly to them, and it's always very powerful when you're talking specifically to somebody. When you're going into a website that says, we help real estate agent, and you're real estate, you know immediately that they're professionals in helping you. And when you have that focusing marketing message, your marketing becomes way, way, way more powerful than everybody else. Now, it's very, very hard to say, I'm going to be the best designer, the best freelancer, the best website designer in the world. However, it's way, way, way easier to be the best in the world for that specific category. I work with tech B2B startups, right? So this niche is so specific, and my niche is even sometimes limited by geography because I work in Tel Aviv, Israel. So in my market, it's very, very easy to be the best designer to go to if you're a B2B tech startup, because there's probably not more than maybe 5 to 10 other people who compete in that specific niche together with me. And so I'm not competing versus thousands of people around the world. I'm competing with about 5 to 10 other people. And so I have a major advantage, and I can actually be the best. So it really, really reduces your competition, and it can really help you focus on, how do I become the best for that specific niche. Now, when you're working with a niche, it actually creates a positive cycle. Why? Because first of all, your portfolio becomes very, very relevant. So imagine if I'm working with tech startups and every piece in my portfolio is a tech startup. It's not, I mean, it will convert much higher. Imagine if a tech startups come to my portfolio and they see a restaurant website. That's not relevant to them. They're not going to look at it and say, I don't know if it can do a good job for me. I mean, we have very different needs than a restaurant. So, I mean, that's not likely a good designer for us. So when you have a very relevant portfolio, that's going to increase the conversion rate of clients that interact with you and to clients that actually close the deal with you. Now, when you, again, work within that niche, you finish working with a client, that client, if they had a good experience with you, they're going to recommend you to somebody else, their friends, their colleagues, or somebody that they're working with, because clients usually work within an industry. So if I work with the tech startups, they're going to recommend to another tech startups that they know, that they work with, that they hang out, that they network with, because that's how networking works. And so when you start working within the niche, the recommendation always also start to focus within that niche, which means you will get more clients from that niche. And as you go along, working only within that niche, you will also build the unique experience needed to solve their problems. Okay, so you see there's actually a positive cycle here. You do one work with a client in your niche, you get a portfolio piece, and you get a recommendation, and you build unique experience. Now, having all these things puts you in a higher position to succeed with the next client, because you already have a relevant portfolio piece, you already have a recommendation or a testimonial, and you already have experience solving that type of questions. So next time you'll convert even better, and then next time you'll convert even better, and that's what we call a positive cycle. So when you stay focused on that specific niche, this is going to happen, versus if you would work every time with a completely different client from a completely different industry, then this effect would not happen. Your portfolio would end up being confusing. You will have maybe a very broad experience, but you might not have a specific experience that helps what they need. You might have a testimonial, but it's from a company that's completely not relevant, and so they can't empathize with it. And that's why, you're going to keep being struggling, closing new good clients. Now, I want to deal with the objections, because as I've said, a lot of designers and freelancers heard this concept of niching down, but they're like, they have so many excuses as to, yeah, maybe, but it's probably not going to work for me. I'm looking at other people. Not everybody are doing this. So if not everybody is doing this, maybe it's not a good idea. So I want to talk about these objections. Now, the first one that I hear is, the big guys don't do this. I look at the best design industry, the best studios in the world. And one example is Pentagram. Or I look at the most famous designers in the world, like somebody mentioned Stefan Segmeister, who's a designer that I really like. And they're like, they're not niching down. They're not focusing on a niche. So why do I need to do this? And here's my answer to that. First of all, you're looking at people who are already very, very successful, and you're looking at what they're doing right now when they're very successful, and you're trying to copy them. But you're not in the same situation right now. You're early on in your career, and you need every advantage that you have. Now, even let's, a lot of people, if we look at companies, look at Facebook, you can say, oh, but Facebook is for everybody. But if you look very, very early on, everybody knows that Facebook started off just niching down and trying to solve the problems of students in Harvard. And then later on, they grew into students in every students in every university. And then they grew and they've broadened their services very, very slowly. And the same would be for Apple. Apple didn't start out as a company that's mainstream, that is for everybody. They started out creating something for the hobbyist, very nerdy community that were, into tech and into building their own computers. So don't look at people who are very successful right now and deduct from what they are doing right now, and they're also already very, very famous and very mainstream, into how they got started. Okay? And a lot of people have different circumstances, right? Maybe they just had a lot of connections. Maybe they were lucky. Maybe they had all these kind of things that helped them get great clients and become big and mainstream, but you're not in that situation. And right now you're in a situation where you need, and we're in a very, very competitive market at the moment, you need every advantage possible, to close clients. And as I've mentioned before, by making a decision, this trade-off to only focus on a subset of the market, on a niche, you'll have a huge, huge advantage in the market. Now, the second thing is, yeah, but if I only work with a subset, I'll be so boring. I'll only work with real estate agencies and all my projects are going to be the same. It's going to be so boring. I love working with different companies. I love meeting different people. I love learning about new opportunities and new industries. And I get this. I think this is cool. But I also think that you're a creative, and so you don't always have to use the same solution. And again, I'm working with tech startups, and there's still so much diversity even within that niche. And sometimes you can come up with a creative solution. Sometimes you can use 3D. Sometimes you can use illustration. Sometimes you can be creative with the solution. The fact that it's the same market doesn't mean that everything is going to be the same. It's going to be the same challenge over and over again. Part of our work as designers is to create differentiation for our clients. And so you still have to be creative, and you still have to find, what's fun and unique within each project. Now, on top of that, I want to say something. Look, you can make a decision about what you want to focus on. Oh, I want to focus on doing only what's fun for me. And you can do that, and you can stay small, or you can do what it takes to build a good business and what gives you an advantage in the marketplace, and then you succeed. So it might be a trade-off. So you need to think about carefully, are you doing this only for fun, or are you doing this because you need to build a big business or a bigger business, or you need to sustain your life, and you need to sustain your family? And I've had this discussion with multiple students. I mean, for example, one of them was very passionate about helping out musicians, which was a niche that he was very passionate about. However, it wasn't a niche with so much money. And I think it's totally legit to think about what you want to do, what your goals are. You can make a decision. Yeah, I want to work within a niche that's really fun for me and I'll enjoy it even though I won't make a lot of money. Or maybe I'll just pick a very profitable niche. Maybe it'll be a little less stimulating or exciting for me, but I'm going to have such a successful business that I'll be able to clear maybe 1 or 2 days per week to do just fun projects. So those are trademarks that you can make once you make that decision. But I just want you to be very much aware of it, that if you are making the decision to focus on only what's fun for you, it might not be the right business decision. Now, the last thing is actually kind of I think it was a quote from Seth Godin that I saw, is that, people are always trying to follow their passion, but the truth is that passion a lot of times comes with success. So you can do something that maybe you're not super passionate about, but because you start to see the results, because you're starting to see that the clients are happy and that you're doing an amazing job for them, you become passionate about it. And so don't always start to think about, oh, I'm only going to do what I'm passionate about. I think from a business perspective, what's going to help you succeed and achieve your goals. And once you are successful in achieving your goals, trust me, you will be passionate about the topic. So let's move forward to talk about how to pick your profitable niche.